The first actually is simulation of vision systems. I think this is an interesting area of increasing interest. Simulation is becoming more widely used and coupled with digital twin across the whole of the industrial automation industry. And the ability to simulate a complete vision system prior to installation is quite an attractive direction.
Welcome to a new episode of our Envision podcast, 5 Questions 2. Our topics are image processing, machine and embedded vision, AI and metrology. My name is Peter Ebert, Editor-in-Chief of Envision, and I'm happy to have you here for a new episode. Our first guest at our podcast is Dr. Chris Yates from Vision Ventures. He's one of the partners of Vision Ventures, and since 2018, he's also board member of the EMVA, the European Machine Vision Association, and its president since 2020. In the following episode, I will speak to him about the current economic situation of the machine vision industry and when an upturn can be expected. Furthermore, we will talk about the big trends at Vision 2024 and which new products he is particularly looking for. Hello, Chris. Thank you that you're here at our podcast, 5 Questions 2. And I will start immediately with the first question. What is the current economic situation of the European machine vision industry at the moment?
Well, thanks, Peter, and great to be here on this podcast. To answer maybe this first question, it's helpful to look a little bit back over the macroeconomic developments over the past 3 to 4 years that have brought us to the current status before saying what the status is. And I think this is in really 3 topics: supply, inflation, and interest rates. Certainly, during the COVID pandemic, there's been significant supply side constraints, particularly of critical components such as semiconductor chips and electronics that are so critical to our industry. And this actually led to a significant over-ordering by almost all companies across the industry and the upstream value chain. And as the supply situation has eased during 23-24, this has resulted in many companies holding over large inventories. And obviously, these companies have then looked to unwind these large inventories, which has resulted in many cases in a drop of orders as the products are already in place to support the demand. The second point of inflation, I think we're all aware this has been one of the highest inflationary environments that has been seen for many decades. And of course, as well as pushing up prices, this has been exacerbated by some strong increases in energy, subsequently food, and also made worse by the war in Ukraine. And this increase in inflationary pressures obviously puts pressure on the prices for all companies in terms of their wage costs, their material costs to produce their goods. And not all of these costs have been able to be passed back down to their customers. The final point on interest rates, this is the response of central banks to the inflationary environment, has been to increase interest rates to levels that have not been seen since the financial crisis of 2008 in an attempt to control inflation. But this also puts significant pressures on companies and individuals. Certainly for companies, the increase in the cost of debt, which is often used to finance growth and capital expenditure, has become much more expensive. At the same time, it's become more attractive to hold cash at hand in interest-bearing accounts. And also, as the cost of capital increases, as the interest rates go up, this means that financial investors, such as venture capital firms, have been more conservative in their valuation of investments. And at the individual side, the combination of high inflation and interest rates increasing the cost of mortgages has also placed significant pressure on household spending. And both of these, I think, affect the machine vision market. For some typical customers of machine vision companies, investing in major CapEx projects has been limited, whilst on the consumer and household side, many households have delayed or reduced their spending on non-essential items, such as new cars, new TVs, etc. And this has softened demand for the manufacturing of goods, which is a key user of machine vision technology. So that's the background. But if then we look to the status today, I think it's fair to say we are we're likely at a turning point. The supply situation has certainly normalized across the main value chains, and inventories are returning to more normal levels. On the interest rates over the past few months, central banks have started lowering interest rates as inflation approaches target values. And also, we're starting to see reporting of quarterly revenue and order increases across many companies in the vision sector. So these are a positive but cautious outlook, I would say. This said, there is still variability, I think, in the short to medium term outlook. Certainly, the wars in Ukraine and the situation in the Middle East have increased uncertainty, and the cost pressures for household, who are the ultimate purchasers of many of the products, have not fully eased. And this does mean that discretionary spending may be limited for some time to come, certainly until wages have fully caught up with inflation. But maybe to close this point, I would like to make a point about the machine vision market that despite this challenging market over the past 2, 3 years, the strategic importance of machine vision remains very strong. I mean, machine vision offers a value proposition that is essentially the capture of critical information across a tremendous variety of applications in a fast, non contact, automated way. And my personal feeling is this value proposition will remain in place for a long time and will continue to underpin the development and growth of the machine vision market.
So, Chris, thanks for much interesting information. You talked about a turning point. Can an economic upturn be expected this year or only in 2025 or 2026?
But I think we are starting to see positive indications, certainly with revenues and orders increasing. So I think the last quarter of this year may certainly show signs of improvement compared to the last 2 years. But I also think this effect may be muted. My personal feeling is that a stronger trend of growth will be apparent during the second half of 2025. And until that lagging effect of the high interest rates and associated cost pressures are fully absorbed by consumers, we won't return to the growth seen during 2010 to 2019. But this said, this will be, I think, different for different companies. Machine vision is a horizontal market sector covering many verticals or supporting many verticals. And so, particularly in relation to the particular exposure of companies to verticals or a regional focus, we can expect to see differences. So, to give an example, several reports are noting stronger increases in orders in North America and China as compared to Europe. On the vertical side, there is increasing demand for semiconductor devices. This is particularly driven by the high visibility of generative AI over the last 18 months. And we can expect companies with exposure to this vertical to see improved conditions after the downturn in the semiconductor industry during 23-24. Another important vertical is automotive, of course, which is a key industry for machine vision. But here I feel the outlook is more negative. We have more stringent EU emissions targets. We have underutilization at many major manufacturers. There is strong competition from China and a cutting of electric vehicle subsidies, all contributing to a weaker outlook here. And finally, to give a contrast, defense systems have understandably come into a much stronger focus over the last 2 years, particularly given the recent and ongoing geopolitical uncertainty, a situation I think is fair to say will continue into 2025.
So, Chris, in a few days, Vision 2024 will start. What do you think? What will be the big topics for you at Vision?
Well, I'm certainly looking forward to visiting Stuttgart and the Vision exhibition again after 2 years. Um, I think the one major topic of discussion, certainly among the machine vision community, will be exactly that question of market recovery. We hear from many of our EMVA members that although the outlook appears more positive towards 2025, it's also the case that variability remains higher than previously, which can lead to difficulty in planning, both for annual forecasts and for operational investments. But on the technology and product side, maybe to touch on a few topics I think that will be of high visibility. Certainly, non visible imaging and spectral imaging, I think, will be strongly represented. My feeling has been over the last two vision exhibitions that the number of companies exhibiting spectral, hyperspectral, multispectral cameras has been increasing. And I think there are almost 20 companies specifically presenting spectral imaging cameras and sensors this year. And if we think about that, that's something like 4.5% of all exhibitors, which certainly does show a certain focus on this topic. In a related point, actually, shortwave IR imaging, I also expect to be a topic with high visibility. I think now the majority of the larger camera companies in the industry have a SWIR offering in their portfolio. I think this is very interesting because it points to increased demand from end users and also an increasing familiarity with where SWIR imaging products provide particular benefits. AI, of course, will be a topic. It will be of high visibility. Most companies in the industry are now working directly with AI technology. And I think the machine vision industry was early into the AI space before the very high public visibility of the last 18 months. At the same time, I think the application understanding is maturing. And I think it's fair to say it's now an established approach to machine vision applications across the industry. I'll give one final point I think will be at least an interesting topic, and that's the trend over the recent years of many of the larger or established companies to look to offer full portfolios of vision products, for example, covering a wide range across the wavelength, say X-ray, UV, visible, shortwave, long wave, medium wave, IR, plus 3D technologies, plus polarization imaging. And I think this is fantastic. And it also really points to the power of machine vision in terms of the scope that we can address. But also, I think, presents some challenges for companies in terms of communicating to the market and the customers which product is best suited to which application, where are they used, and how to choose amongst them. So when I look to the companies such as Basler, TKH, Vision, Lucid Labs, etc. I'll be looking to see how they're addressing that challenge of communication across a very wide portfolio.
Great answer, Chris. And many reasons why everyone has to go to Stuttgart looking at the new products and solutions there. I'm quite sure you have a lot of appointments at the fair, but which new products or companies are you particularly looking forward to at Vision?
Absolutely, and it will be a busy 3 days, but always enjoyable, always exciting. And maybe let me start by saying that I think everyone has different things that they're looking forward to at the exhibition. Vision Stuttgart has really so many products, solutions, and technologies to see that often, in hindsight, the most memorable was the one that you had not planned to see and came across by accident. I think it will also be great to see many of the EMVA's 168 members exhibiting during the show. I will try, but will almost certainly not be able to visit all of them, but we wish them all a very successful show. And we'll also be meeting with many of them at the International Vision Night networking event on the Monday evening. But maybe I can highlight a few personal companies and products that I'll be looking forward to visiting across a few topics. The first actually is simulation of vision systems. I think this is an interesting area of increasing interest. Simulation is becoming more widely used and coupled with digital twin across the whole of the industrial automation industry. And the ability to simulate a complete vision system prior to installation is quite an attractive direction, also feeding directly into one aspect of industrial vision AI, such as the use of synthetic data to train AI models, which can be an output of a complete vision system simulation. And two companies I'll mention here. On the larger side, Teledyne have recently launched their site-based simulation tool, which is intended to allow the correct selection of components and test out a vision solution in virtual 3D. And it's quite interesting that a large player like Teledyne has entered quite early into this topic. And at the other end of the scale, to provide a contrast, the early stage startup Medabzi will also be showcasing their browser-based planning platform, which addresses a similar topic. Another area actually on the sensor front I think is interesting is event sensors. So event sensors do appear to be making good progress towards mainstream applications. Many people remember that Prophecy, one of the early companies into the space, won the Vision Award recently. And two new products here I'll be looking forward to are seeing the Swift shortwave IR event sensor, which has been produced by SCD Semiconductor Devices in Israel. And this is a novel sensor which provides event sensing in the shortwave IR and has also been implemented by several companies into production cameras, such as by Kaya Instruments, often with a focus towards defense applications. And another new sensor that will be interesting to learn more about is voxel sensors, who produced a single photon active event sensor. And this appears to be a single photon detecting event sensor, which can be used for 3D sensing through the detection of a fast scanning laser beam. And here I think the single photon detection should certainly help overcome a traditional difficulty in active 3D imaging, which is to generate sufficient photons for an accurate measurement. So two interesting directions there in event sensors. A final point, and this is always my one of my highlights, is the early stage companies, often found within the startup area. And here's a great place to see fast moving developments. Two companies I will certainly visit. One is Living Optics from the UK. They have developed what I think is the first CASI camera. CASI stands for Coded Aperture Snapshot Spectral Imaging, and this is essentially a new mode to create hyperspectral images, and it promises fast, accurate snapshot hyperspectral data. And I think they will be demonstrating their first camera, which I'm looking forward to seeing. And finally, one area also that's been of increasing interest at the technological level in the past couple of years has been the use of quantum dot technology to create non-visible image sensors. So we've seen companies such as Sphere Vision Technologies, which was recently acquired by onsemi, and Emberion, who have been early into the space. But I think also this year, QDI Systems from the Netherlands will be exhibiting, and they're using their quantum dot technology to create both X-ray detectors and also shortwave IR image sensors. And I'm sure there will be many other things that I didn't think about seeing that I will look back on and be delighted to have learned more about.
Listening to your answers, I can't wait that Vision finally starts in a few days. European Machine Vision Association is organizing once again the International Machine Vision Standards booth at Vision, and furthermore, from November 7 to 8, the Machine Vision Forum in Mulhouse, France. What will I find at both events?
Yes, and maybe let me cover the two questions separately. In terms of the International Vision Standards booth, every Vision exhibition, the EMVA hosts the International Standards booth. Standards are really very important for the industry, and we are lucky to have in place a globally cohesive set of standards that allow users of machine vision systems to implement and integrate vision systems with confidence. The International Standards booth is really a one-stop shop to learn all about global machine vision standards, whether these are interface standards such as Coax Express, Gigi Vision, whether it's camera characterization through EMVA 1288, or at the more system solution end with VDI 2632. And although the EMVA hosts the booth, there will be presentations and demonstrations from the other regional machine vision associations that we cooperate with in the G3 Global Cooperation on Standards, such as the US-based A3, the Japanese Industrial Imaging Association, and the VDMA. So an excellent place to come and learn about standards, and also, I understand, serves a good coffee. The other topic you mentioned was the European Machine Vision Forum, and I think whilst today our focus is towards the Vision exhibition, the European Machine Vision Forum is an excellent event that is held in November and as an annual event. Hosted by the EMVA, it's a unique event and it really brings together cutting-edge applied vision research and industry, and really seeks to match the developments within applied research to the needs of industry, and through a comprehensive set of presentations, poster sessions, and networking events. This year, it will be held at the University de Haute-Alsace in Mulhouse, which is very close to Basel Airport. I think there are something like 17 talks, multiple keynotes, And the general topic of the conference is on challenges and opportunities in computer vision for human-machine interaction. And it's going to cover some highly interesting topics such as the use of polarization imaging to detect material properties, medical endoscopy, as well as an overview of vision companies from the surrounding Alsace region. I would say this has been an excellent event in the past to hear about some of the latest technical developments, but very much with a focus towards practical application in industry. There are still spaces available for this conference, and I'm personally very much looking forward to attending and meeting many of my colleagues from the technical side of the industry. So look forward to seeing many people there.
And if our listeners like to get more information about the forum, just go to the EMVA homepage, emva.org, and you will find more information about the program and the keynotes. Chris, a big thank you being our first guest of our new podcast. I'm quite happy to see you at Vision. I'm quite happy to discuss with you more new trends, maybe soon in another episode of our 5 Questions 2 podcast. Chris, bye.
It's been a pleasure. Thanks, Peter.
If you would like to find out more about Envision, please register for our Envision newsletter at envision-news.de/news, become a follower of our LinkedIn channel, Envision News, or find out about our webinars at envision-news.com/talks. I look forward to welcoming you to our next episode of our Envision podcast, 5 Questions 2.